Peace, peace, peace. Welcome, welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, I see Chief Yuya already in the space. Welcome, peace to you. Um, yeah, man. Enjoy your loved ones as they enjoy you. If not, enjoy spending this time with our family. Right. Definitely welcome to everyone who's going to be trickling into the space. Of course, my name is Master Minulek. Um, and this is something a little different. You know, it's definitely our time where we wind down and get ready to go into Shabbat, which is our time of rest. Um, but it's not necessarily the Shema readings that you all may have been expecting. It's something a little different. To tonight's build, and a few of the builds moving forward, we're going to be focusing on just fellowshipping. You know, building with you all. Give thanks on the radio. I see you loud and clear. Give thanks. But yeah, building with each other. Um, and as we were discussing, how the format of these types of segments are gonna go, you know, the word decompress came up. Because often we go through our strong, and no matter how slow or fast our start is, we tend to like ramp up, and then at the end of the strong, like there's still stuff we want to do. It's hard to disengage and start to move into that the restful state that we're all striving for in order to move into our internal space. So yeah, so we just wanted to definitely give thanks to the Most High Yah, who we are utilizing this time to reconnect with. Give thanks, of course, to Chief Yuya for fashioning this space and really painstakingly putting a lot of energy and a lot of love into creating a safe space for us all to fellowship, right? And we had built on fellowship before a while ago, maybe a few years ago in Anu and Peace in Manat. And we had um, the definition or the deliberation that we come to was that fellowship was, you know, it's like a ship. Chief had shared with us that you're dealing with something that's carrying you, right? But you're all going in the same direction. It's not necessarily hanging out or going to the club. You've all decided that there is a spiritual pulling um, that is pulling you all in the same direction. You've agreed to walk in the same direction, in the same manner, or within the same culture. So what we're doing now is basically winding down. We had a beautiful, strong. We had started it off with our midday affirmation, and we had built on expectations versus reality. Which we touched on a lot of different topics like just keeping an updated image of yourself, internal image, being able to look at the world and see other opportunities as they come, peace, rock, even being able to discern like some of the systems that we go through and the imprints that they leave on us, which brings us to Chief Yuya's segment on school damage. And yeah, peace, peace, peace. Yeah, school damage, and the way we don't necessarily realize the imprint that our schooling or our training has left on us. We're left with not necessarily a clear understanding of what our boundaries are. We ask for permission for like everything. And as we go into our life, we don't realize the conditioning that we went through and how that stifles our growth and development. There's a certain glass ceiling that we place over our own development, and we sort of stay stuck there. We even create excuses to stay stuck there. So definitely check out that podcast and a few others that he's been putting out recently. Another one that I wanted to touch on and build on for a second was about the Shabbat, you know. But we also had our study session. Study session was very informative as always. We learned so much. Peace top tier speakers, peace sovereigns. We learn so much by building with one another. And the questions that we may have lingering that we may not have necessarily had the chance to answer, or had the, we didn't necessarily know how to deliberate on certain things or what types of questions to ask, which is a beautiful thing when you're building with one another and you actually get to fellowship, right? You actually get to say, okay, we have this thing that we're deliberating on, and we got to make sure that we're all facing the same direction. We may not always come from the same angle or on this with the same type of energy, but that's the beauty of having a bunch of different unique expressions of the Most High in the same space, still pointing towards the Most High. So it's like, pyramid, everything's pointing out. After that, of course, we had Aki El Kara, so he always comes with it with the movie breakdowns, excellent movie choices and shows, things that I would have never found if he hadn't, put it out there. And we always build on that, the different characters that we see, what they represent, the types of things that we can pull from them, because we do exercise the skill, and we refine and sharpen the skill. Peace, Emilia Kira Eden, peace, Safta Gertrude. We refine the skill of extrapolation, right? So being able to pull the seed of wisdom from whatever it is that we may encounter. It could be anything really. That's the power and the strength of that skill. No matter what you encounter, you can always pull wisdom from it or pull power from it, and manifest something else. And of course, here we are, the end of the strong. Whatever we may have gone through, whatever we may have accomplished or sought to accomplish, and maybe, we might still be scrambling to get our last bit in before the sun goes down. Of course, you can see the sun is still up over here. But that's the thing. Like, often we come like sliding into Shabbat, knees scraped up, you got that last level of sunlight, and you got like 3 sentences to go in that email, or you are peace, Mimi Shannon, or Mimi Shannon. You got that last level of sunlight, and you want to finish, but we often like slide into Shabbat and like, I made it. Adrenaline's still pumping. You're still thinking about what you may have gotten wrong, trying to prove things, stuff in your mind, when you really should have been like how many of us ease into Shabbat? How many of us say, okay, I'm getting close to that point where I know I'm going to be moving into my internal space, so let me slow it down, right? Which is why I brought up earlier that segment that she did on Shabbat. You have the concept of that yin and that yang. That yang being the external energy, which is what we use during our first 6 days, and then moving into the yin, which is that feminine energy, which we use for our internal building, and again, sometimes we like slam brakes and we don't give ourselves the opportunity to stay in that flow. So the same flow that you may have during the strong, where you're moving and grooving, you're doing things, you're getting things done, and sometimes you get so used to the yang that you discount the yin. I don't want to stop, or I can't wait until first day so I can get back to work, or even the evening of Shabbat so I can get back to work, as opposed to, let's move with the flow. So how can I keep that same momentum, slowing down and going to the yin, and then, speeding up when necessary, when coming out of the yang, which it helped me to understand what Chief was breaking down during our retreat. Our dear Softer Gertrude's husband was there, and he was very giving and sharing some Tai Chi forms with us, which helped to understand the need to slow down, or even recognizing some of the issues you may have physically that you may not notice. Like Aki Hamza pointed out to me, you have a lot of tension, because I noticed he was behind me, and I noticed during some movements you were kind of stiff, and part of that was I was still thinking about work, still thinking about stuff I got to do. So that tenseness, um, it robbed me of the opportunity to be fully in the moment, which is what a lot of people call being in a flow state. When you may start up, you may be doing like something artistic. Maybe you're a writer, or a musician, and you start to warm up. You go through your warm ups, and then you get into your music, and what happens is something that's very difficult to describe, but it's familiar when you hear it. Time, like the concept of time disappears. You think you've been in the room for like 5 hours and it's been 2 days, and everybody's asking if you're okay. It's like, yeah. You come out, there's all kind of crust under your eyes, but you don't feel tired because you're in that flow state, and you don't necessarily feel time passing because you're connecting with something that doesn't really move on that frequency, or doesn't move in that time. So that's what I sort of wanted to build on. Of course, we also do our Instagram posts, and on Instagram there's been okay, Naya with the drip. Come through with Naya with the drip. Share and comment. Share, comment, and subscribe. Please do. Give thanks, Imanaya, for the reminder. But yeah, during our strong, we typically post the day's mathematics on our Instagram page. And on Thursdays, we give you a chance to, quote what you think, what you see today's mathematics as. So, in the spirit of that, today's mathematics is wisdom born, or being born to knowledge, which then, of course, is born to wisdom. So that would be 2-9 for the 29th, and then 2 plus 9, of course, is 11. So a double digit again. So that 1 is the knowledge, and you have 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? So you have 2, which is wisdom, 9, which is born, which is the manifestation of 1 to 8, right? Similar to how we have Shabbat, which is sort of like what do you manifest from first day to Shabbat, the seventh day. So it's that similar concept. And then, of course, you have the 1, which is knowledge. Your knowledge is your foundation. And then you have knowledge and knowledge, which gives you wisdom, right? And wisdom is the manifestation of knowledge. Now, as we go through, okay, give thanks, Chief, putting it in the chat. Yeah, so as we go through the upcoming strongs, especially beginning the month of August, we'll have like more, I would say, more direct breakdowns, of what each of the degrees or each of the numbers means. And, you can follow along. You can learn and follow along and join in on it. It is fun, to play with the numbers. And then once you see the concepts linked to the numbers, it's fun. It helps you to think in a different sort of modality, as opposed to just this is what it is. You can think in different sort of abstract terms, but you can still take that abstract term and apply it to your reality, and you would be surprised, what you can produce or what you're born. Piece of Raskush, pieced it out as a belt. And Chief Yuya posted the day's mathematics, how he sees it. Wisdom born creates a reflection of knowledge, as what is born is the original woman, who is the reflection of the original man. That reflection then allows her to stand on her own square in wisdom. All right. So don't worry, everybody could be getting fancy. Stay tuned. You'll learn as you go. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have some challenges coming through. So yeah, definitely pay attention to our Instagram channels, which is Anu Life GM at Anu Life GM. For the womb space, you have at Anu Womb, and of course for the men's space, you have at the Anu Man. All right, so stay tuned. Definitely follow and all of that stuff. But yeah, just getting back into the flow state. That flow state, as Chief was saying, wisdom is the woman. And when you have the woman, you also have the concept of water, or like Imanaya, drip, drip. you know, but you have the concept of water, and again, we come back to the concept of the flow. And being in a flow state is something that sometimes I've seen a lot of women do it. They like don't don't wait on a woman to put on no makeup. If your woman puts on makeup, don't wait on her to put on no makeup because she gets so into doing it, like she forgets everything. Like come on, we late. And it's like, oh, I'll be down in just a minute. 2 hours later, you finished? Oh, I just got to my eyebrows. Where did you start? you know, but yeah, just the whole waiting thing. Like sometimes they do it in relationships too. You'll get friends on like no other, and they'll enjoy every minute of it. That feminine energy of being in the flow or being like everything and nothing at the same time. That's where you get that yin aspect from again, or that darker aspect. So just a quick question, right? Like what what do you usually do? Like have you ever experienced flow? And hopefully someone could type this in the chat because I can't. I'll see my screen shaking. Hopefully someone could type this in the chat. Um, have you ever experienced the flow state? First of all, when was the last time you've had a flow state? Like that experience of the flow state. And the third one would be, what were you doing? Okay, so pieces to Yafe. Give thanks, Abaraskus. So, Imanaya, I guess she beat you to the punch. Okay, so give thanks, Imanaya. First question: have you ever experienced the flow state? You know, as some of you know, I'm an artist, a visual artist, and I've experienced the flow state, of course, with drawing and painting. And I used to experience it a lot more when I was younger, and I didn't have a lot of alarms going off telling me I need to be somewhere. Um, but yeah, when I was much younger, I would just like I wouldn't want anyone to interrupt it. I would almost hide um, with my art pad and just sketch, draw whatever, or I'd find a picture that I really like and see how closely I could replicate it. And it's like it's a surreal experience. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I could get easily distracted, and I'm like, turn off the light, or don't turn off the light, or turn that down, or I don't want anything distracting me. But after a while, I don't care. Someone could get shot, and I'm still right there sketching. you know. Um, but yeah, let's see what's going on in here. We got a lot going on. Easy fix to. Okay. Akira says I was just driving with my family, and the tire ended up popping. Being in a flow allowed us to stay calm. I know from experience how to fix the tire. Oh, okay. Jesus. That's an easy fix. Yeah, but let's see what else we got going on in here. Yeah. Ross says it definitely was, but if we hadn't have went through it before, it would have thrown us off. Okay. Um, TBS says absolutely. I experienced it when doing music, good music, writing books, fighting, and public speaking slash teaching. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of weird for me because getting there is like a process of subtraction. I think we had wisdom build destroy yesterday, right? It's a process of subtraction or destroying, right? Because I'm super sensitive to certain things happening in my area. Sometimes I try to dull my senses, or just focus on one thing, But after a while, I realized that once I just keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like all of my energy or all of my mental focus just converges onto this thing that I'm working on. And it's amazing what you can produce once you get into that flow state. But it's hard to do that when you're thinking about so many different things, you know. And it's similar to Shabbat, right? You're moving into Shabbat, and it's very difficult to focus on your internal when you have a lot of external chatter still happening or still going off, you know. I think one of the past Shabbats, there was some music playing upstairs from our roommates, and you could hear it, right? So how easy is it to get into a flow state when that's going on, or is that enough to throw you off? It may not be anything. You may have a lot. Like I said, I can have a lot of stuff happening around me, and I still get into a flow state regardless because I'm focusing all of my energy on this one thing. And I feel you on the public speaking tip as well, Chief, because when you're performing, like that's another way to get into that flow. You focus on not the crowd, not what you're gonna eat afterwards, but you focus on, okay, let me make sure I do it the way I practice it. I know I can get it. I know I can get it. And then after a while, it's like you don't even realize you're still playing. Everything feels lighter. Abaras Kush says when playing basketball and writing slash performing poetry. There you go, performance. Um, and radio says definitely with dancing and music. Okay, cool. Let's see. Imanaya says I experience the flow state when I'm cooking, crocheting, dancing, cleaning, sometimes working out, depending on the exercise and writing. Last time I experienced it today, I rearranged my space. Okay, yeah. And that's another one of those things where you may start in the dawning, and next thing you know, you look outside and the sun's going down. Then even Naya says she finished the crochet project and had to cook dinner. Okay, I did something. Sovereign Eve starting speakers. Okay, there we go. Sister Yafe says, yes, I have experienced the flow space while making pretty things to adorn the body, necklaces. Also, when I get through writing a book, words just come through with ease. Mm, okay. Um, Dancing and singing puts me in flow. Anything creative or artistic, really. Yeah, I feel you, in Sequoia. Definitely, the same thing with me. Some things I'm kind of too self-conscious about to move into that state, which is a good sign that I need to do that more. um, Sister Sovereignty says, I have experienced the flow state mostly during art when I hike and I am moving at a pace. My feet moves itself sometimes, and it's attuned to the terrain. When I am writing, sometimes I experience this. I can feel you on the hiking piece because I run a lot, and after a while you can run on any terrain. Like you just know where to put your feet. It's difficult to explain. Or your feet tell you where they need to go. That might be a better way to look at it. Um, okay, yeah. Sister Yafe and Imakuya were in the zone dancing. Um, Chief Gia says, Sovereignty hiking flow is a forced mark slash jog. I think that might have been March, March slash jog. I like to take in the scenery. You want to speed walk through the dang dong. uh, Imanaya agrees with Sister Sovereignty, hiking. Yeah, I remember the first time I walked 12 miles and couldn't believe it, right? It's similar to sometimes it's similar to when you're on the phone. You answer the phone and you're in the kitchen, and by the time the phone call is done, you're on the roof, and you don't know how you got up there. You can't keep still. Your feet move on their own. So after Gertrude says, lecturing is a place that sends me into a flow state. The back and forth is amazing. Okay, so it's sort of like what we were building on, fellowship. Yeah, man. Anu Radio, the last time I experienced it was creating digital art. And during the last Anu Radio episode, when I was running some Afro beats. Okay, cool. All right. Sovereign Eats March saga continues. Chief Yuya, it's a high paced flow. Right. It's the excitement. Nature makes me excited. I want to see what gifts await around the corner. Um, yes, the float does renew energy, because it feels like you haven't really lost any, which is, again, I want to say it's strange, but I also, that's kind of my point too. Like, how do you stay in that flow state? We sort of dip in and out of it. Um, but I think it's possible to be in that flow state no matter what sort of season you're in, you know. And Chief had touched on that as well with the yin and the yang. Sometimes you have too much yang energy. You might be like Sister Sovereignty, but I'm marching. Like you too energetic, you're moving too fast. And then at other times you may be moving like kind of too slow. You may not be vigorous enough, and when you're moving through, um, the timing is off. The timing of everything is off in terms of your breath. Not necessarily, if I don't get across the street at the right time, I won't meet that business partner. But the way you're doing things, your energy might be off because you're moving a little too slow. Your yin is too high, as opposed to your yang. And you're moving in that flow. You have that balance of you're moving, sure, but you're moving at the right pace because the yang is very constricted. It slows you down. And the yin is very, I don't want to say agitating, but it's very active. It's very invigorating and it speeds you up. So how do you move with that balance of fast and slow at the same time? And I had a conversation with two people, two brothers that I'm very close with. One of them, we have a similar sort of energy where we may have too much moving fast energy. Like I don't want to rest because I feel like if I rest, I'm wasting time, and the other one had too much yin energy where he was sort of waiting for everything, waiting. And when I spoke to one, I said, try this. Don't do anything tomorrow. And he was like, nothing? I was like, nothing. I was like, I bet you anything, the second you decide not to do anything, you're going to get a bunch of people calling you, telling you they want you to do stuff. Just say no. right? Because he was trying to he had left his job and he's trying to basically hustle to stay afloat. He'd applied to different places and everything, applying his skill, excuse me, applying his skill, but no one was really answering him, so he did it, but he did nothing. And sure enough, one of the people who was waiting for to call him, and he actually had to travel to work, but he went to where he needed to go today, so that was good news. But he actually just slowed down. That's all it really took. It wasn't necessarily a timing thing, but it was like an alignment sort of thing. Like, are you balanced enough to move through this door? And there was some sacrifice involved in that too, because some of the people around him whose energy was supporting that imbalance dynamic, like they had to go, like one way or another, they had to go. So it was interesting to see, and when you can see it in others, it helps you to look at your own self with circumspection and do that internal work, which is what we have Shabbat for. So, let's see what's going on in this chat. Okay, Ima, Yakira, Eden. Peace, Master Menone. Peace, greetings. I've experienced this flow space while meditating, or even just by, I guess, sitting by the water, observing the stillness. It can happen when the wind blows, and definitely when dancing. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was one of the things that Saba Welcott, Ema, Softer Gertrude's husband, had told us, focus on everything that's going on around you, and we were in a very natural space. For any of you who have seen, the videos and the posts, we were in a very natural space, and it felt very yin. There's lots of trees. It was really cold. It was kind of rainy. We had some hot moments, but for the most part, it was very cool. Which was perfect for the retreat setting. But yeah, man, focusing on the water and observing stillness and, feeling the wind blow. There was a movie that I saw with John Travolta. And in the movie, he had Phenomenon, that's the name of the movie. Phenomenon. In the movie, he was basically struck down by this light. He went outside during his Earth Day celebration, and he just sort of looked up and he saw this bright flash of light, and he couldn't explain it, but from the next day onward, like his IQ just kept shooting up. So at a certain point, like he was working in his garden, and he was kind of frustrated because of everyone's reactions to his change, and it was a change he didn't necessarily understand either. He could explain it, but he didn't understand it. Why is this happening to me? What's coming next? So he was just outside working, and the wind started blowing, and you could see the trees sort of like sway back and forth. And he just like rested his arm down, and he sort of like moved with the trees, and he allowed the breeze to sway him. And for some reason, like just by proxy, just by watching that scene, like you sort of do the same thing, and you slow down, you take a deep breath. It's a really cool scene. That just popped into mind when I was reading your comment, Sister Yakira. Oh, okay. So he's teaching as well. Yeah, there's a moment while teaching where I sense what's needed and flows. Exactly. Sometimes your lesson plan goes out the window because you realize that like what needs to happen. Sometimes you have a lesson plan just because you don't know. You have an idea of what you need to teach, and you develop a strategy to say, okay, this needs to be taught. These are the tactics I'm going to use. But after interacting with the students, you may realize the tactics are in the room. Every time I touch on one point or listen to another point from the students, you realize that all the tools I need are right in this room, and you start to flow from there. Everything just comes to you. Okay, creating art. Okay, so everyone's sort of experienced that flow state. Um, Barascus. Staying in the flow for me means staying locked into a groove required for optimal performance of said task. Blocking out distractions and fully being in the moment, being, right? Um, okay, being a poet, practice and discipline is required to train the mind, find that groove, and stay in it till the objective is complete. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good segue into, they're speaking about Shabbat and fellowship, being in the groove with one another. During the segment that Chifa did on, what was it? I think it was the most recent segment, the one he did on school damage. Chifa mentioned it's a it's a movement full of jokesters, and once we get around each other, we just start cracking jokes, and it's not like, oh, what are we supposed to be doing? Because no matter what we're supposed to be doing, we still cracking jokes. You know, um, you try to do a serious face, say, all right, let's get through this. And someone says something funny, which is cool because, excuse me, that groove is very difficult to get to. Um, like I said, when you're very tense, but it's a very relaxed environment. It was very, it was a cool experience. There was no tension, like behind the scenes, to the point where everyone can feel it and you're just waiting for something to pop off. It was nothing like that. It was just cool and everyone was able to flow. Um, but yeah, that was what I wanted to build on this evening. And, give me some of your feedback for this strong. Like, for any of the segments we did this strong, what did you learn? Or how much different are you from the person who didn't hear, let's say before first date, you know? So from last Shabbat to this Shabbat, what kind of changes have you gone through, or what kind of growth have you experienced? Just fellowshipping and sharing experiences and how that aligns us with where we're moving towards. Because again, we're a movement, right? Um, Aki Ross says, recently I spent some time in the forest at night um, with a fire, drawing with my left hand and experience the flow. Usually when drawing, I can get lost for hours. Drawing, the first thing that I think of. One of the brothers had suggested drawing with the left, with the least dominant hand, and it really did help heal. Um, what did it heal, Akira? And I think that was Brother Justin. That was Justin during the clubhouse segment. That was some good guidance because it does help you, with loosening up because you got to focus on this least dominant hand. Instead of being super tense with the hand you can hold a pencil with, now you're focused on holding a pencil. And it's similar to chanting while you're meditating. The chanting helps to distract the conscious mind so the subconscious could like do its thing and you could get into that flow state. I think that's it for the chat. But yeah, looking forward to this upcoming month. Talking about seasons, right? We're coming to the end of summer, last month in summer, and we're moving into our vernal equinox and then, of course, the fall. And we have our vernal equinox fast, and we also have our fall retreat coming up, both of which I'm looking forward to. Next, I gotta stop saying that's my commitment for next show. I'm gonna stop saying those things are important too. before you go into your just said it again, before you go into your internal space, making a commitment or setting an intention, it helps you to really reflect on what you've done, but it also helps you to step back and be like, okay, why do I, why am I affirming this thing for myself? You know, and does this align with the promise I received? What is the promise I received? Well, reconnect with it, right? And staying in that constant flow of yin to yang to yin to yang, and not necessarily having like a jarring halt to the yin, and then trying to ease into the yang, and then as soon as the yang is finished, like you you speed up again at an abnormal rate, you know, but just staying in one fluid motion, you know, that being able to stay aligned so that when opportunities come, you know, you can take them because you're aware of them, right? Or like Chief says, you can allow them in your life as opposed to disallowing them, not because you don't want them, but because you're so distracted by everything else. Excuse me, everything else that's going on that you don't necessarily see an opportunity when there is one, you know. Or you can even make an opportunity over seemingly nothing, out of seemingly nothing, because just you're in such a flow state that when people are saying pull back, you know it's time to charge forward, because you're hard at it or you know better, but you do know better. But it's not an ego ignoring. You know, you're in that flow, you're connected, and you know this is the right thing to do. Um, I think this is answer to that question. I said heal from what? Like Brother Ross said, it forced discipline, healing, and a barrier of fear that I have when it comes to not being able to stick to one task attentively. Um, okay, so you say a barrier of fear that you have. So I'm guessing you were able to complete it. Is that what you're saying? You know, make it make sense, brother. Come on, brother. But yeah, man, that was really what I wanted to build on this evening. You know, just the concept of staying in the flow, as opposed to hopping off and hopping on, hopping off and hopping on. You know, but making what you do just what you do. You know, instead of I have to do this because it's on the calendar, or I have to do this because it was scheduled, or even like Chief had touched on in the school damage piece, I have to stop thinking about this now because 45 minutes have passed and it's time for the next period. You know, all of these things help you to really stay in that flow. Okay, you did complete it. Okay, all right, brother. You know, these things help you to stay in that flow when you consider that there doesn't necessarily have to be a time limit on what you're doing. You know, yes, we're in the realm or the reality of matter and time and space and gravity, but you can still move in that flow state, and you'd be surprised how it weaves in and out of what people claim to be like punctuality or the right way to do things or being on time. You know, things happen when they happen when they're supposed to happen. You know, unless you try to constrict that flow or you try to get off the flow and then get back on, but you don't have the discipline to even understand when you're connected or what it is you should be connecting to. You can connect to anything, but it's not necessarily something that's the right fit for your form. All right, so yeah, that was the bill for this evening, right? And of course, you can take today's mathematics into your meditation as well. You know, wisdom born or being born to knowledge, knowledge which is born to wisdom. MGC says tense equals stress, stress equals strain. When in the flow, it is balanced and it is balance, push and pull, or concentration and ease. That allows one to tap into the channeling of specific energy. That was deep. It was deep. Yeah, there you go. Poet right there in the building. Yeah, man. But give thanks for that, Raskus. And give thanks to you all showing up. Of course, we have coming up next strong, the usual suspects. We have our first day build on first day, which is Sunday. And we have after that, the first day build is on Clubhouse. After that, we have our internal and study session. We also have our movie breakdowns, which will be facilitated by the sisters this month. This upcoming month. You know, I don't know. I still want to put my request in. You can do sort of kind of do phenomenon if you want to do it. If you want to, but you don't have to. You also have Fallen. I'm just putting in my bids. Denzel Washington and Azazel. Since we touched on that during our study session, and yeah, that's it for me. Get it in while you can. And of course, we have our next strong, when we'll have Akoti Moria, building with us as we lead, as she leads the fellowship, and yeah, throughout the strong documentary process, see what helps you or what doesn't, and bring it to the building, share and fellowship. But that is it for me. I am signing out. Even though we didn't build on the Anu Way today, you can go to anulifeglobal.org, where you can also apply to join Anu, and you can get a copy of the Anu Way for free. So if you're interested in more thoughts and calculations along the stream, that is a good place to start. All right, but with that, out. Peace, peace, peace. Shabbat shalom.